American, and whew, yes, FNAF 2 complete. Yes. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm so happy about that. Yes. Oh, oh, that's fun. My very own piece of birthday cake. It's a lore clue. It says, "Happy birthday, Jeremy." Wonder what it says. There's no way to tell. Now we just gotta unlock all the other bits of cake, don't we? I wonder if you can unlock the whole ticket price counter. Thoughts are occurring in my head. Here, I'm gonna hop over to prize counter, and then we're gonna try Plus Babies 1 or 2 more times, and then that's probably a good chance to wrap it up.
Have you gotten the tape by the gumball machines?
Yeah, yes, that was the first tape that or second or third tape that I got. Because I'm like, oh, I want a gumball, and then I grabbed it, and it was like, oh, there was a hidden tape back there. Interesting. So, special. So you got the cockroaches from Nightmare Chica. Cup. I don't remember unlocking the cup. It's also interesting. So these are apparently locked behind the number of coins you have. And I got the 8-ball just for reasons. Interesting. Does that mean that I can do something with them and it's gonna do something? I wonder. I bet we're gonna, that we're gonna just dedicate an egregious amount of time wasting our life throwing every object at every other object. That TV is suspicious to me. I feel like there's gonna be something. That didn't work. I feel like there's gonna be something with the TV at some point. I wonder if. So does this give me all the exotic butters or just one butter? Just one butter. Greasing up my counter. Nope. What if I throw the 8-ball at it? I'm just curious. There's only 3 bobbleheads, that's weird. 8-ball. Cup. So the basketball we use to get rid of that over there. Why do we need 8-ball? Smash! MatPat smash! Countertop.
Seth Hoskins says you can take items from the prize counter over to the game select, and you may be able to hit our secret bunny from the game select area. If you wanted to try.
I also still think it's weird that
Chuck it.
Yeah, we could try chucking it, I think. I also still think it's weird that that one Freddy is so green. Here. Alright, grab this, return. Well, he's not there. I do have this 8-ball. It's interesting. I wonder if you're able to, phase your way, or if at some point, there's a way to, because that looks like it should be. Oh no, that's an ATM, not an arcade machine. Huh. So that's an ATM, and that looks like kind of a change machine to make quarters. I wonder if there's anything you can do with some of those. No, it just kind of disappeared. Okay. Huh. Yeah, we'll have to play around. Also, it's weird that there's a thing that you unlock with 10 coins, and I have 10 coins, and it has unlocked it. Okay,
So,
and Night Terrors, but
in here,
I am a decoration.
I'm gonna try Dark Room.
what I was trying to say before the game crashed is that in here, you got
Wish me luck.
the rotting corpse of Afton
And maybe I'll watch some playthroughs
in the Bonnie
of what people did
suit,
with
but then
the
if you
Mary
head
Alice,
over
what
to
they
parts of
did,
the service,
'cause for the life of me, I can't quite
there's
seem to figure out
there's a
either what's going wrong.
costume.
Like, should I have access to my flashlight while I'm holding the door, or what? Or should I be hearing things? That's just what's frustrating me at this point. Okay, here we go. So, you think they might be, right above my head? Like there-ish?
Yeah, they're saying there's some sort of vent in the ceiling or something.
And that's where they might be coming in from?
Yeah.
Alright, I mean, hey, guess what? Right now, I am not doing a good job of, finding them. So, there's one spot I'm very clearly... I hear a vent. Okay. Well, no, I did. Where are you? I found your vents. I found. Now you're in a.
A.
I found your vents.
I didn't mean to press that.
Plush Baby is also Batman.
It's just my
Foxy
game is so
Batman and also Plush
stupid.
Baby. Combined, they are two creatures stacked on top of each other to make one real-size Batman.
I might give you a world tour of mine in a minute.
Okay.
It's back.
IT might be less lag, to be honest.
Welcome to Game Theory, the show that clearly doesn't understand the meaning of
I
the
didn't
word
even do
final.
that.
It's finally over. That is the end.
Must have been
Lord Theory
RT.
FNAF is at its end. Yet final FNAF Theory. But can you really blame me? These games have confirmed endings in FNAFs 3, 4, 6, and Ultimate Custom Night. It's like Doctor Strange saw 14 million different endings and Scott Cawthon was like, I'll take them all. You know, to think FNAF World's inclusion of FNAF 57 Freddy in Space was less of a joke and more of a preview of coming attractions. So anyway, it's back. Call it whatever you like. FNAF 7, FNAF VR, Help Wanted, Bat Pat Insanity Simulator. But after a year of detoxing, Five Nights at Freddy's is back with a new official game in the series, and it's, more so than any other installment, feels like an inflection point. A game that is simultaneously looking back to pay tribute to where these games began, as well as a game that's looking forward to lay the groundwork for where this franchise is headed. This isn't just some quick VR cash grab for the series, this is a pivotal game in the canon that closes the book on the old lore and also launches us into FNAF, the next generation. It seems to answer some old mysteries from the previous games, all while opening up the themes and tone for what's to come. And there is a lot to unpack here. This is, without question, the meatiest game in the FNAF library, which is impressive because it's still a VR title. So, let's not waste any time and get started with the basics. Now, in case you don't have a VR headset, I've actually played through the entire game on GT Live, so you can check out all the highlights.
No! No! Ah! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did we do it?
And lowlights of my playthrough.
What in the name or Greg's sausage rolls is that?
I don't know.
But let me quickly take you through what you need to know for today's theory. In Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, we're playing as a beta tester.
Ready when you are.
Okay, I'm just gonna finish this. That's kind of like my mustache.
Not the Irish ginger beer.
Is really Scott Cawthon canonically inserting himself into this game? That is a discussion for another episode, my friends, because it throws all sorts of weird monkey wrenches into the lore, but we'll get to that later. So according to the intro, Scott's games gave Fazbear Entertainment a bad name.
Oh my god, I did not tell you to finish.
Experience then is to poke fun of their past, clear their name, and ultimately rebuild the brand. Seems simple enough, right? Play through some loving recreations of past games as well as some new minigames, and that's it. Job complete. A new generation of Faz fans fall in love with all these new characters and add to Scott Cawthon's growing pile of money. Merch perfect for birthdays. Speaking of merch, Fazbear Entertainment ain't
Don't forget the merch, perfect for birthdays.
Game Theory merch is also perfect for birthdays. Heck, probably even more perfect for birthdays, Scott. And, wouldn't you know it, we just released a bunch of new items for you. Can't sleep at night because you got the animatronic hanging out in your closet?
Keep in mind most of my stuff isn't done yet.
Okay.
Perfect way to keep animatronics at bay because it's powered by USB. You don't even have to worry about your batteries running out at 5:55 a.m. Or maybe you're just looking to be the best
What is
dressed at
this?
your friend's next pizza party. Stay fashionable while making sure to stay out of the employees only room in your new His and Hers Game Theory shirt. A purple Theorist Pride t-shirt for the ladies with reinforced sleeves and neck, and the Codebreaker shirt for the guys. Asymmetric because I think it's really fashionable in clothing, but also with Easter eggs Benedict built into the design of the shirt. It's a shirt and a puzzle for you to solve all in one. We've also got socks, guys guys and girls' underwear, a jacket, and only a limited amount of
MadPad's voice, emoji crying loudly.
They're gone. If you're a fan of these channels and all the hard work that we put into each and every one of our videos, and I hope that you can see it. These videos do take a lot of time and effort to put together. Buying socks or a shirt or a jacket is the single best way to support us. So not only are you showing off your theorist pride, and not only are you getting yourself a piece of high quality clothing, you're also just supporting us and our efforts to really do something better here on YouTube. So with that being said, show off to the world that you actually understand the lore of these games, or pretend like you understand the lore of these games, by nabbing yourself some new theory wear. Link is right up here, or is on the top line of the description. Now with that out of the way, back to VR. Playing through the game, it is legitimately impressive. Pretty much everyone here is recreated in a stunning 3D environment. Bonnie, Baby, Funtime Freddy the puppet, heck, even Easter egg appearances by Mini Renas and Lolbit. Characters that most of you watching this probably haven't even heard of before because you have much better things to do with your brain space than I do. Practically everyone is here in this
I'm ready,
game,
if
except
you
for
are.
one important omission. Golden Freddy. I mean, Laura isn't around either, but you know, I said important.
Boom!
Right? I mean, this is a game that drops you into perfect recreations of the first 3 installments of the series. You don't just forget about one of the most important characters to the lore of these games. Well, that's because it isn't some careless oversight. Golden Freddy isn't here for a reason. It's our first clue that this game isn't just a joke, and is a canonical entry. Specifically, it tells us where it falls in line with everything else that we've played through. Golden Freddy isn't here because she's busy hanging out in H.E. Double Chica arms. Think back to the end of Living Test Night in our previous theory. By tracking the voice lines used throughout the game over screens, we were able to piece together that we're playing as William Afton.
Let me check cross-platform is on.
Extraordinaire. And that the whole game was him trapped in heck to atone for his sins. And the thing that was keeping him there was the one he should not have killed, a girl named Cassidy. The spirit who had an axe to grind, possessing the Golden Freddy suit.
One
The
sec.
reason Golden Freddy isn't in FNAF VR is because the spirit is down there tormenting Willie A forever, from here until the end of the series.
Can you join your world because I bullied my house?
Twitching off into the darkness. Cassidy never gives up her soul, no matter what Old Man Consequences said. Further cementing that help wanted
Yeah, I
is
guess
not
I'll have to
the
do
end
that
of the
before.
FNAF timeline is this miserable little creature right here, the Scrap Baby plush. Because why wouldn't you want to cuddle with something that rips in half and eats children alive? Let me remind everyone who doesn't have an encyclopedic index of all 60+ animatronics that have graced the screen in this franchise that Scrap Baby is the homeless hobo version of the old baby after escaping sister location and who was voted out of the Ennard tribe sometime between
Well
FNAF
then,
5
but
and
okay.
6. Her only on-screen appearance is in FNAF 6, so the fact
Hang on, Isaac. I'll be in your world in a sec. I just need to check. I need to check this.
But again, with Golden Freddy missing, it seems to secure it after everything's burned down and closed. So we have ourselves a company that's trying to rebuild its reputation after a series of tragic events. Seems pretty simple, right? Of course not. This is a FNAF game. You know that the story is never going to be that obvious. Hidden throughout the game are cassette tapes that, when collected, unleash a new monster into the hallways of this pizzeria. What the game's files refer to as Glitch Trap. A yellow bunny with purple eyes. Yellow bunny with purple
Bro
eyes.
is treating this like a drug transport mission.
As you collect more and more tapes, this glitch rabbit comes closer and closer, becoming more and more fully formed.
I know, but that guy's gonna keep begging me to do it if I don't do it.
Fever dream that mashes together every location that you just played through. Waiting for you at the end of this horrific maze is the single scariest moment from the entire franchise. And I can't emphasize that enough. It is literally chilling. What you learn is that you, 7-year-old, have been lured to the back room of Freddy's. And what awaits you is your pizza party, complete with your favorite flavor of cake, all your best animatronic friends, and then Glitch Trap calls you to follow. The music fades. Suddenly you're on stage. You're holding Freddy's microphone. You are Freddy. You've been stuffed. You are now a missing child. As your killer dances gleefully to the song that you're being forced to stand up on stage and sing. This isn't just a spoopy jump scare of some goofy character. This is real horror. So it definitely seems like this new character, Pedo Hair over here, is William Afton. I mean, sure, the suit isn't as bulky as a skek, enjoys children's pizza parties just a wee bit too much? Big old check again. Then again, to call this character...
Oh, I thought those were Octoless Certain. Holes, not a teleporter.
William. Like I said, he's trapped in eternal torment with Cassidy, listening to Barney the Hippo over here tell his life story.
Dry bread
Really?
was fresh on Tuesday. They made sourdough bread on Monday and threw it out Wednesday. What was they saying?
No, to understand who, or better put, what this thing actually is, we need to examine the tapes that summoned Glitch Trap here in the first place. Scattered throughout the various minigames are 16 glitching cassettes left behind by a former game dev, Tape Girl, which, when put together, tell the story of a failing game company, a bit of malicious code, and some very stabby office supplies. We're also introduced to the story of another beta tester, who was in our position before us, named Jeremy, making this the third time that the name Jeremy has appeared.
Gotta celebrate Father's Day, be right back.
And then again on the gravestones in FNAF 6.
Okay.
Coincidence? I think not. The first tape immediately makes it clear we're not picking these up in chronological order.
There are more. They may not be in order.
Which leaves us the task of shuffling them into some modicum of sense in order to put the story together of what really happened while this game, the game we're supposedly playing now in its final form, was in development. Going through the tapes, I've done the shuffling for you, and I think I've come up with the most cohesive narrative based on the evidence and what Tape Girl actually says. She begins by telling us that the game's then playtester Jeremy has been complaining to his manager Dale about nightmares. Except he's not explaining them like they're nightmares, he's talking about them like they're real.
He wasn't talking about it like someone telling a friend about his dreams, though. He was pale. He doesn't even jump anymore. He just stands there like he's talking to someone.
Pale, doesn't react to scares, talking to themselves? Sounds to me like he's going crazy. Either that or he's just a FNAF YouTuber. Hashtag relatable, am I right? The game he's working on is this one, Freddy Fazbear's Virtual Experience, which includes some code that was inherited from Fazbear Entertainment, and off some old hard drives to save him time and money.
It was just junk. Circuit boards and things like that. It seemed to take hold by itself. But then, he started appearing. At least that's what Jeremy said.
Manager Dale doesn't seem to take Jeremy's warning seriously, however, and instead he starts documenting all of Jeremy's behavior in preparation to fire him.
You can always tell when a company is getting ready to fire someone. The thing about it is that I don't think they were going to fire him because of anything he was doing wrong. They just knew he'd seen something.
This confirms for us one major detail, that the scariest thing in the FNAF universe is crunch time. Working long hours until you're driven crazy and then fired at the end? Man, it's just like the real-life games industry. It's uncanny. These games just get more and more realistic. So Jeremy is going crazy and no one is listening. Flash forward to tape 6, where Tape Girl talks about coming in early one morning to see the supply room lit and Jeremy in the darkened testing room. It's a short tape, but it's an important one because it sets us up for tape number 9, when we learn that what she saw looked like a Halloween mask laying on the ground and a bunch of ink both on Jeremy and scattered around the floor. But that's not ink. That's no mask. The ink is Jeremy's blood, and the mask is actually Jeremy's face, which he presumably sliced off his own body using the aptly named guillotine paper cutter. We know this to be true thanks to tape number 4, where we hear Tape Girl say that the cutter comes from the supply room and that Jeremy expressly knew where it was.
I didn't even know we had one in the supply room. I was always afraid of losing a finger. That seems so silly now. Jeremy used to do design work. I guess that's how he knew it was there.
And for as extreme as this sounds, we know that he sliced off his face due to all these seemingly minute details about how his face was obscured that morning.
I went back and peered in the window. I couldn't see his face. He had the visor covering his head.
Anyone else getting some bizarre Bite of 87 vibes from this story? No? Is it just me? Huh. So Jeremy eventually dies from his injuries. After Jeremy's death, things start getting even weirder, which is a relative statement considering that this is the FNAF franchise we're talking about. Tape Girl overhears a conversation about a lawsuit in the aftermath of Jeremy's death, which makes perfect sense given that he died a horrific death on the job. In response, the company starts taking some serious steps to cover their tracks, namely to sell off the game and destroy evidence that could incriminate him. In the meantime, Tape Girl takes over Jeremy's role as playtester, and all we can hope is that she really cleaned that VR headset before she put that thing back on. on. She has 3 days to playtest the game. Across her audio logs, we learn that in that time, she sees Glitchtrap for the first time and comes to learn that he's attached himself to her audio logs. She tries to delete them, but can't. So instead of deleting them, she fragments and disperses them into the 16 small pieces we've been collecting throughout our playthrough, warning us that they shouldn't be reunited at any cost.
Hide all traces of these logs that I've created. I fear that finding them and reassembling them will also reassemble the very thing I've tried so desperately to destroy.
Whoops. Probably shouldn't have hidden that info on tape 15 of 16. After that, though, she seems to backtrack on her story, saying that in fact the entity in the game can be killed, and that to do so we should reassemble the tapes. Odd, but okay, we've got them all anyway, so might as well see what we can do. Glitchtrap attacks us once we have 16 tapes, and if we don't respond in time, we trade places with him. For a brief second, we see through his eyes back down at the console that we were just operating. Our consciousness has truly melded with his, just like the voiceover warned about at the top of the game.
Asbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transfers.
So that's a bad ending. But if we do manage to properly follow Tape Girl's instructions as he's trying to mind meld with us, well, he still seems like he escapes. Or at the very least, he definitely doesn't die. This should have been like some Mr. Smith in the Matrix moment where all his code disintegrates or something. But instead, we're trapped on one side of a door in the game. A bloody, hand-printed door with scratch marks clearly showing people stuck in here desperately trying to escape. And we see Glitchtrap practically skipping off into the darkness. This doesn't seem like the ending we should be getting for putting all the pieces of the tape together and following all the tape maker's instructions. That would basically mean that FNAF VR has 3 losing scenarios here. Getting stuffed at the end of the pizza party, transferring consciousness on the home screen, and getting locked behind the door if you choose to follow Tape Girl's instructions. That can't be right. Can it? Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's the point of the game. Maybe we are destined to lose no matter what we do here. I mean, think about it. The canon ending of Sister Location was a bad ending, with Michael getting scooped. The canon ending of FNAF 4 was a bad ending, with the crying child getting bitten. In FNAF 6, you and literally everyone else burned to death. I mean, it's considered a victory, but you're still dead. Now, let's look closer at the text of the audio logs. There is something clearly wrong in them. The tapes start out just fine. They follow her story in a pretty logical way, and we know she's a real person in the real world because she's observing things from outside the game's testing room. Things like Jeremy complaining to management and the stuff that's present in the supply room. But then, upon closer inspection, you start noticing some strange anomalies. For instance, we have 2 tapes that both start with her introducing who she is. A hi or a hello followed by, you don't know me, or can you hear me? Which is our first hint that something's a bit off. The same person is making these tapes the whole time, for the same audience. So why introduce herself to us twice, in both tape 1 and tape 15? Why would one end with her saying,
Now I fear that those logs are being used as a Trojan horse. If you're unable to abandon development, hide all traces of these logs that I've created.
basically telling us to hide the logs, but then also say this?
There are more. They may not be in order.
Basically inviting us to put them all together. Weirder still is the fact that the last file suddenly does this major about face relative to all the previous logs, where suddenly she says out of nowhere, oh yeah, there is a way to kill Glitchtrap. This is odd on a lot of different levels. The first and most obvious being, if these instructions really do work and she's so sure about it, why didn't she follow them? If this method was actually effective and she knew it was effective, Glitchtrap wouldn't be in the game anymore, because she would have followed her own advice and wiped him out. How would she even know that this system works? The answer is, it clearly doesn't. Or at least it doesn't do what she says it's gonna do. That's because she's not trying to get you to kill off the entity in the code, she's trying to get you to release it. While we don't have every piece of the puzzle in this story, here's what I think actually happened with all these audio tapes. The tape maker starts out genuinely making these logs to document the weird stuff that's happening in the game studio. The stuff with Jeremy, really happens. She really sees Glitchtrap in the game, but on her last day of playtesting, she tries to delete the files and fails. Instead of killing Glitchtrap, she undergoes a digital consciousness transfer, just like we do in one of the 3 bad endings, trapping her in the game and releasing Glitchtrap, presumably into her own body, or just releasing him into the real world. Both of which are possibilities that the game explicitly warns us about in the opening sequence.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transference, real-world manifestations of digital characters.
That, my friends, is why you always have to read the disclaimer. From inside the game, she's now stuck, with her only hope for escape being to go through the same process she just went through from the other side. She creates a new log, starting over by saying,
Hello? Can you hear me?
which in reality is saying, hello, can you hear me in here? Since she's now making the log from inside the game. She tries to create a new story that encourages a future developer to piece the logs back together, and then seeds one final log out there to tease the idea that a future developer can solve the problem by killing off Glitchtrap using her log assembly method. It's smartly constructed, because she's counting on future developers having the same curiosity and determination she did. She even mentions this in one of her earlier logs. Tape 3, that when Jeremy had told the developers that something was wrong,
But as a dev team, we all just saw it as a challenge to find what the problem was and fix it.
we do exactly the same thing, finding what's wrong and following the instructions on how to fix it, only to find ourselves on the wrong side of the door covered in handprints, where presumably lots of other people have been there before us. Glitchtrap, or whoever is in the body of Glitchtrap at this point, perhaps Tape Girl herself, disappears into the darkness and takes over our body outside. And now it's our turn to wait for the next beta tester to come in, follow the tapes, and hand over their consciousness to us. Now, that last bit there is speculation based on the oddities in the audio logs and the fact that following her instructions results in seemingly yet another bad ending. But even if all of that about consciousness switching and her being trapped in the game and us taking her place trapped in the game isn't the case, the point is, William's back. Just not in a way that any of us expected. What seems undeniable in Help Wanted's story is the fact that his consciousness was preserved in the circuit boards that got scanned to make this game. And now, he's here, as Glitchtrap, tricking players into letting him escape. It's no longer the same guy. He's now an AI replicating the behaviors of William, and snatching the body of whatever completionist is determined enough to play through all the elements of the game. In a funny way, it's exactly like the story we've been piecing together for Petscop. Odd, actually. Maybe they really are one and the same, both made by Scott Cawthon. The biggest lingering question now in my mind, though, how many Williams are out there? Is this just one instance of an AI looking to escape, and now we're the new host body? Or is it somehow able to replicate itself, copying and pasting its code into any mind out there that's playing its little game? Could we be entering a new part of the FNAF franchise with multiple William Aftons, all in completely different bodies? For as cool as that would be, and honestly I think this game could open up that world, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that's why there's such an emphasis in this game on you being a beta tester. It's one instance of corrupted code and you happen to be playing it. And now, you're infected by it. In the next generation of FNAF, you, or at least your body with William Afton's code in your head, is the new killer. And so on and so forth until we finally get to FNAF in space. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. And we should probably talk about Jeremy. It's weird that his name is used 3 times. There is no possible way that that's meant to be a coincidence. There's also this random appearance of Shadow Freddy, which I found in my playthrough, which again, seems like an odd little detail that's important to account for in the Pizza Party minigame. And the fact that Glitchtrap has 3 toes, just like the footprints that are outside of FNAF 6's house window. There is a lot more here in this game, but I honestly just need more time to think it all through. Rest assured, though, I'll be back.
I always come back.
And that, my friends, is why you should subscribe and ring the bell to make sure that you're notified of all our new uploads, because you can bet I am not done with this new game quite just yet. There is just so much to unpack. And again, just as a reminder, we upload new theories every Saturday or Sunday. We've been doing it for years now, so please support the channel. Now, if you'll excuse me, I do really gotta figure out this Jeremy stuff. It's really bothering me. There's something here. There's something here. It's the linchpin in everything that came before. This is weird, man. Also, Scott Cawthon's the villain in his own game. But, again, more on that one next time.
Mark and Samantha have tied themselves in knots trying to find a new car. It's not rocket science, Mark.
The books offer a closer peek at Henry and William Afton, how their partnership flourished early on, and how their view of the animatronics evolved over time. Thoughtful fans might want to give these sections a closer look to determine how they impact the story of the games as well. Right there, clear as crystal. For years, I've been trying to piece together the story of these games, right? But one thing has always served as a major sticking point, and that thing has been these books. Now, admittedly, these books entered the series at a tough time. FNAF 4 had released a few months prior, the game that, to this day, serves as the single biggest point of frustration for anyone trying to piece together the lore. Scott always trolls us. See also the repeated use of the name Jeremy. But this one game was just too much. It was a game that played with so many different ideas. It played with dreams and dates and bites and balloon boys and new characters and new toys, kids that looked like established characters. I mean, what was real, what wasn't? No one had any idea, and still to this day, we are at a loss about what this game means for the entire franchise as a whole. And then, shortly after that, FNAF World would enter the picture, and, well, we all know how well that one went. So, needless to say, it was a sensitive time for the series, and sandwiched in between it all was the Silver Eyes, the start of the novels, a story set in the FNAF universe, but not really? Question mark? Scott Cawthon, when the books first came out, tried to make it clear what role these played in the greater story, but I don't know if it helped things. Here's his quote. The truth is that after a while, lore can become so dense that there isn't any room for a story anymore. Another truth is that what makes for a good game doesn't necessarily make for a good book. Sometimes a timeline gets so full that the only way to tell a real story is have that story set in a different timeline, an alternate universe, a different location, or perhaps from a vantage point that isn't entirely what it appears to be. It's an interesting quote. True to Scott's style, it doesn't give anything away. I mean, everyone immediately latched onto this idea that the books were somehow a separate and alternate universe. Come back and read that quote again, like I just did here for the first time in years, and that the character played a different book. Clown still, like we see in the games, devours William Afton's daughter Elizabeth, and ready to have your mind blown by FNAF.
Sky Glass, a TV made by Sky with a 4K ultra high definition screen.
Ready for a huge special announcement? Me, Markiplier, Doggo, the kings of Five Nights at Freddy's, together in one room against a brand new FNAF game with thousands of dollars at stake, live. Do I have your attention? Great! Because it's happening right here, and not only are they helping children fight against dude, it me that he could do me one better. That he o'clock a.m. California time, and going literally all day here on this channel, on the Game Theorist channel. And if you do want to start donating now to this incredible cause, now, enough with me on the couch, let's get to the episode.
We are giving away 1 million diamonds to 4 lucky players and 1 exclusive deco to the whole...
I won't expect anything. It will be fun.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where today it's time to meet a new villain, because FNAF's next major killer has a face, a voice, a motive, and we even know their name. So today is actually going to be a big one, my friends. The official game may not be releasing until 2020, but we're already well on our way to understanding where this franchise is headed next. Just as long as Scott doesn't shred it, burn it, and mix in another 5 monochromatic characters with frontal lobes bit off dreaming on their deathbeds. You see, over the course of October, we saw the release of FNAF VR Help Wanted's Halloween DLC, The Curse of Dreadbear, which, at this point, is getting close to, like, the longest game title in history. And despite the game's repeated insistence that this little fall fest was purely for fun,
keep in mind that this DLC pack is nothing more than a festive holiday-themed add-on. which has absolutely no hidden intent or purpose.
We all know that's a complete lie. One does not simply include casual references to 1983 in a Five Nights at Freddy's game. And when it comes to Easter eggs, I'm not just talking about one or two things here. Whether it was the FNAF 4 house perched high on a hill in the background, trick-or-treating at an animatronic-filled mansion, inching your way through FNAF 4's haunted hallways, or just taking a Disney ride that suddenly goes off the rails to revisit a familiar-looking pizzeria, Easter eggs were hidden in every pixel of this DLC. Here's a list of a few that were worth calling out, but don't merit a full-fledged theory. First, the masks that you wear for the trick-or-treat minigame are most likely the real-world versions of the masks that we see the bullies wearing during the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Bite. This reinforces the idea that in the grand timeline of events, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was popular enough as a franchise by 1983 to have its own line of Halloween masks. In other words, it's more evidence to suggest that this location that we see in FNAF 4 isn't the first pizzeria. It's not the beginning of the timeline. Point number 2, when you win a minigame, you see posters randomly generated around the walls. The thing is, all of these posters have appeared in a previous game, FNAF 6 Pizzeria Simulator. They appear in the alleyways where the salvage animatronics can be found. Man-Wolf clown pictures referencing Baby, and Spookfest. What's particularly interesting, though, is that Spookfest one, which could in fact be referring to the exact fall festival that we're attending. That poster in particular always felt like a random addition to those alleyway scenes. And as we know, Scott don't do coincidences. It's also worth noting that I've seen one playthrough from the channel Johnny Blocks that had 3 clown pictures appear on the walls. After throwing a dart at each one, the barn suddenly switched over to rave mode. Black lights on for the party, becoming possessed by Golden Freddy. We can tell that as evidenced by the Disney banner hanging over the top of the barn. Now, I can't confirm whether this is real, because he's the only playthrough I've seen been able to do this, and also spawning 3 clown pictures randomly is just seemingly impossible odds. And also, afterlife with our dearly departed William Afton. But still, it is something that's definitely worth calling out, and if any of you out there have a means of testing it, go forth and double check it. And lastly, during the game over screen, you see a giant dread bear looming over top of the hillside covered in gravestones. On top of the hill, you can make out what appears to be some sort of purple glitch by hacking out it on all sides by 7 normal-looking gravestones. Now, 6 gravestones would seem to be a reference to Pizzeria Simulator's gravestone ending, symbolic of the 5 murdered children during the missing children's incident, as well as Charlie, the girl who dies and goes on to possess the puppet. In short, William Afton's 6 victims. But then, what's a 7th gravestone doing there? Well, in my estimation, that one would seem to belong to Michael Afton, his son, and his final and unintentional victim. Which would suggest that the glitching gravestone is William Afton's grave. It's got the purple color, it's got itself the glitch, which clearly ties it to Glitch Trap, but further cementing this is the texture that you see running along the grave, which, while hard to make out, clearly has rabbit ears. But it's the last and hardest to achieve Easter egg that I want to focus on today. The one that reveals our new killer and starts setting up a story that we'll be watching play out over the next few years of games. You see, William Afton has started himself a
Did
cult.
they?
Let's call it
I can't even see because the game's crashed again.
And it's going to be our job to rescue
Second time it's crashed.
fallen under his spell. Now,
So I'm gonna have to quit the. I'm gonna have to close the game and come back and see.
About how FNAF VR Help Wanted is a passing of the torch, a sort of reboot for the series, and